in boxing, but I do think when you actually come up against a proper serious boxer, and I suspect that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may be that person, it could all come crashing down.
Piers, is that you think that your opinion matters?
No, I don't think it's good. I think he train hard, but it's not good fighter.
The point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset.
Boxing experts are predicting that Jake Paul will be knocked out in the 5th round of his upcoming bout with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. They believe Chavez Jr.'s experience, power, and ring IQ will be too much for Jake to handle, likely leading to an early stoppage. And you see this as Jake Paul's toughest challenge yet, as he faces a seasoned and battle-tested opponent.
So I've just interviewed your opponent, Julio, very confident, says he's going to knock you out in the 9th round.
Yeah, man, you know, he's a dumbass. And so it's going to be apparent on Saturday when he's the one that gets knocked out.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. didn't hold back when asked about Jake Paul's skills. He acknowledged the younger fighter's dedication to training, but made it clear that the results don't impress him. According to Chavez Jr., boxing is about more than just hard work in the gym. It's about instincts, rhythm, and real fight experience, all of which he believes Jake has yet to demonstrate at a true professional level.
But one thing I've gotten off him during this week is that he's viewing this fight as at least a pathway to some form of redemption. He's not going to get all his fans back. He's not going to redeem himself on the eyes of the fans of his father. But if he can beat Jake Paul and beat him convincingly, maybe you don't think quite so much about quitting against Daniel Jacobs or against Fanfara or that terrible performance against Anderson Silva. Like, I think the point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset. I promise you, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is not just here for a payday. He is not just here to collect a check and to get whitewashed by Jake Paul over 10 rounds. He's coming to win. He may not win. Jake could turn out to be even better than maybe people generally think, but he's coming to win, and I think it's going to be a competitive fight.
Media personality Piers Morgan has joined the chorus of skepticism surrounding Jake Paul's boxing career. In a pointed critique, Morgan highlighted that Jake has yet to face a legitimate professional boxer in his prime. According to him, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. represents that long-anticipated test. Within the boxing community, there's a growing consensus that Chavez Jr. has the technical skills and ring IQ needed to decisively defeat Jake Paul.
YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking boxers who think they know about the sport put some respect on my name.
Yeah, but you're not going to get... Look, you're going to make a ton of money. Listen, I think as a businessman, you are brilliant, right? I give you full credit for that. When you took on Mike Tyson as a business enterprise, there's no argument. You absolutely crushed the numbers, crushed the money and everything else. But the idea that you can say on the one hand, I'm a killer, I get in the ring with the best people, and you get in the ring with a guy who's 50, he's literally nearly as old as me.
I'm not talking about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Anderson Silva, Tyrone Woodley, champions in their sport, Golden Gloves champions, Ryan Borland, Andre August, undefeated fighters. The list goes on and on.
But what great boxer have you been in the ring with?
Former world champion on Saturday, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., son of the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, besides me, of course. Like, I don't know what you guys want to see. I tried to fight Canelo. He ducked out of it. You asked him about that. You said he's going to kill me. So what do you want, Piers? You're laughing when you say, oh, Jake is going to fight Canelo. I think you would kill him. But then you're like, oh, you're not fighting this guy. You're the problem here with this whole situation and criticism of my career. I'm trying to fight the best people, and that's why Chavez is here on Saturday. I want Canelo. I want Anthony Joshua. I want all these people. It's been 5 years in this sport.
But the problem is the only proper boxer you fought was Tommy Fury, and he beat you. And he's not even the best. He's not even the best fighter in his family.
Golden Gloves champion Andre August, Brian Borland as well. Anderson Silva was an undefeated boxer. I mean, you can sit there and make up shit, but you actually don't know your facts. I've fought multiple boxers with professional records, and including Mike Tyson himself, who I think is going to be a harder fight than Chavez.
Trainer Robert Garcia has publicly stated that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. doesn't need to do anything special to win. He just needs to show up and box. According to Garcia, the gap in class between the two fighters is enough to determine the outcome. Chavez Jr.'s experience, natural talent, tactical intelligence make him a serious threat to anyone who lacks true professional seasoning.
I love that dude. He's cool as I love that dude.
He's gonna win.
Okay, if he wins, what does it say?
Nothing. Chavez is gonna win.
What does that say if he beats Jake Paul?
Not much, just a good win. A lot of millions of dollars, and then maybe do a rematch, which is bad. Make a lot of money.
Even legendary fighter Manny Pacquiao has weighed in on the matchup, and his pick is clear. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., known for his sharp boxing instincts, Pacquiao sees Chavez Jr. as the more skilled and experienced fighter. For Pacquiao, the gap in real-world boxing experience and pedigree gives Chavez Jr. a clear edge. His endorsement carries significant weight, not just because of his Hall of Fame career, but because Pacquiao understands exactly what it takes to succeed at the sport's highest level.
But yeah. Asking about Jake Paul. Who do you got in the Jake Paul fight?
Jake Paul and Chavez.
Julio. Viva Julio.
Viva Julio!
Julio.
Bro, chat.
Julio's winning.
Oh,
That's Manny's manager. He's putting it out there.
I'll see you Saturday night. Viva Julio.
Boxing insiders report that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. isn't entering this fight relying on his name or past accomplishments. Contrary to what some critics expected, he's approaching the bout with full intensity, training hard, staying focused, and treating Jake Paul as a serious opponent, not just an easy payday. This shift in mindset is key, especially in a sport where underestimating your opponent can cost you everything.
But one thing I've gotten off him during this week is that he's viewing this fight as at least a pathway to some form of redemption. He's not going to get all his fans back. He's not going to redeem himself on the eyes of the fans of his father. But if he can beat Jake Paul and beat him convincingly, maybe don't think quite so much about quitting against Daniel Jacobs or against Fanfara or that terrible performance against Anderson Silva. Like, I think the point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset. I promise you, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is not just here for a payday. He is not just here to collect a check and to get whitewashed by Jake Paul over 10 rounds. He's coming to win. He may not win. Jake could turn out to be even better than maybe people generally think, but he's coming to win, and I think it's going to be a competitive fight.
Veteran boxer Gabe Rosado offered a thoughtful perspective, emphasizing that experience often becomes the deciding factor in high-stakes fights. He acknowledged Jake Paul's youth and momentum, but pointed out that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been through it all: championship rounds, brutal wars, and the relentless demands of true professional boxing, according to Rosado. The kind of experience Chavez Jr. brings to the ring can't be replicated in training camps or exhibition bouts.
I really don't know his habits. You know, he has a bad track record on, preparing. But look, man, if Chavez comes in at least 60%, then I think Jake really has a fight, because one thing that Chavez has is experience. He may not have the youth, and the agility that Jake has right now, but he does have the experience, and I think that experience will give Jake a problem.
I completely agree with you. I think this is an excellent fight for Jake Paul. Officially, he is 11-1, but he's really like 2-1 as a boxer. Yeah. He's fought Tommy Fury. He fought a couple of no-name cruiserweights. I guess if you want to throw Mike Perry into that list, you can say he's 3-1. But against guys that are traditional boxers, he's a 2-1 fighter.
Julio Cesar Chavez, a legend in his own right, spoke out in strong support of his son, delivering a bold and almost prophetic warning to Jake Paul. He made it clear that what Jake is about to face is unlike anything he's encountered before. 4. Chavez Sr. This fight isn't just another event, it's personal. His confidence in Julio Jr. comes not only from their shared bloodline, but from witnessing firsthand the dedication, sacrifice, and hard work his son has put in to regain his form and sharpen his focus.
He knows exactly what to do. Jake Paul just fought against Mike Tyson, who didn't even throw one punch. This is not Mike Tyson. You are going to get your ass whooped.
No hay manera de que le gane Jake Paul.
There is no way Jake Paul can
Esta
beat him.
preparación que hizo Julio, Jake Paul no la sabe, ¿entiendes?
This camp, Jake Paul doesn't
va a
know it.
salir a tirarle chingazos y Jake Paul va a andar corriendo como gallina.
Julio's going to go in throwing some serious punches, and you're going to be running like a chicken without a head.
Many observers remain skeptical about the legitimacy of the upcoming matchup. Given Jake Paul's history of facing older, retired athletes and fellow influencers, there's a growing belief that this fight could follow the same scripted formula. Critics argue that if it's just another media stunt, it won't do much to advance Jake's credibility as a boxer. However, if the fight turns out to be genuinely competitive, even a slightly out-of-prime Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. poses a serious threat. Unlike Jake, Julio has faced elite-level opponents and carries the battle scars to prove it, giving him a level of credibility Jake has yet to earn.
Let's talk about this one here. This Saturday, June 28th, we've got Jake Paul. He's gonna take on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I don't know if this is a real fight or if it's a fake one, so let's talk about this. Alright, let's say this is a real fight, because I don't know, you know, I don't want to sound like a hater, but some of Jake Paul's fights look like they've been staged. So let's say this is a real fight, this is the real deal. Listen man, Chavez Jr. has never been the greatest boxer out here. He's lacked in discipline, he's lacked in the sport, but nevertheless, he is a credible opponent. Jake Paul on the other hand, I don't know, you know. Some of the fights look staged, some of the knockouts look like the guys have been paid. With that being said, the problem child is taking on Chavez Jr. this weekend. Take a look at both men's professional record. Yes, I said professional record. Listen, box rec. This is Jake Paul's professional record. Alright, cool. Let's get into it. 11 wins, 7 coming via knockout, and 1 loss. Let's take a look at Jake Paul's actual professional record. So he's fought 3 professional boxers. 1 Tommy Fury, 1 Andre August, and 1 Ryan Bell.
Boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya has voiced strong support for the competitive value of this matchup, viewing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. as a significant step up in opposition for Jake Paul, while Jake has mostly faced opponents who posed little real threat. De La Hoya believes this bout will finally push him to his limits. He called it Jake's toughest test yet, not just because of Chavez Jr.'s experience, but also due to the unpredictability and resilience he still brings into the ring.
And I'm really excited because the only reason I got involved with this is because he's fighting a real fighter now. Julio Cesar Chavez went 12 rounds with Canelo. He is an ex-world champion in boxing. So this is a real legit fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm obviously questioning what Chavez Jr. will we see. Will he be in great shape? Will he not be in shape? Will he make weight? Will he do a lot of questions behind it? But ultimately, you have to tell yourself, Jake Paul, congratulations. This is a real first legitimate world champion fighter you're fighting.
Jeff Mayweather offers a more cautious take on the fight. While he acknowledges that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. once had impressive credentials, he questions how much of that skill still remains. Jeff believes the timing favors Jake not because Jake is necessarily more talented, but because Julio is well past his prime, suggests this bout is more of a strategic move to add a former champion to Jake's resume rather than a genuine test of skill. From Jeff's perspective, the fight may look more impressive on paper than it ultimately proves to be inside the ring.
Canelo backed out and all that kind of stuff, but is this, another name that just, like I said, gives the detractors more feel for their fire? Does this help Jake at all?
I don't think it's really going to help him that much. I mean, it will in the sense that he's fought a legitimate fighter that actually was a professional fighter and a world champion. But to get him after a 5-year layoff and him being inactive is almost just like fighting Mike Tyson.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like an older guy past his prime who hasn't fought in a long time. I guess he doesn't have an MMA career behind him, so maybe that's a good thing. But it's a lot of the same thing that people have always complained about.
Yeah, but I think this is a fight that Jake can win. I mean, legitimately win.
The matchup has ignited a debate over what holds greater value in boxing, youth or experience. Jake Paul boasts the edge in energy and physical conditioning, while Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. brings superior timing, accuracy, and refined technique. Analysts point to Julio's faster hand speed, stronger defensive skills, and greater ring IQ as advantages Jake has yet to demonstrate. This clash of youthful ambition versus seasoned skill makes for a compelling fight. Many believe that although Jake may push a faster pace, it will ultimately be Julio's ring craft that determines the outcome.
How good is Jake Paul's next opponent, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Can he pull off the upset and beat Jake? Now, Chavez Jr. in his prime was a really solid fighter. 46-0, four-time WBC middleweight champion. This is him against Sergio Martinez, a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Hurt him bad with the left hook, dropped him in the 12th round, nearly got the finish, but Martinez did end up winning this fight. And then after losing the title in 2017, this is him versus Canelo in 2017. Solid pressure fighter, good body shots, decent hand speed, but these are pretty much his only highlights in the fight, because he pretty much lost every round 12-0. But still, he did go the distance with Canelo. But then you get to his most recent fight versus Uriah Hall at cruiserweight. He still got some decent body shots, but he looks considerably slower fighting at a heavier weight class. His footwork is a bit plotty, and he's not as fast. Look, Chavez Jr., he's not a bad fighter. He's never been a bad fighter. But what he is very undisciplined and considerably slower and more flat-footed at 39 years old fighting at cruiserweight. The technicality, the experience, it will give him a 25 to 30% chance. But the youth, the size, the speed of Jake, that'll give him more of the edge.
There's no denying the commercial appeal of this fight. Jake Paul is a marketing powerhouse, while Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. carries a legendary name that still commands attention. Together, they create a media sensation. This bout draws in traditional boxing fans eager to see Chavez's return, as well as younger audiences who follow Jake's online empire. Regardless of the outcome, both fighters stand to gain financially and boost their reputations. The mix of celebrity status and authentic boxing heritage guarantees strong ticket sales and high viewership. Asterisk.
Let's find a real boxer. This man's an ex-world champion. He's way smaller when he was competing.
Yeah.
He have to come up to my weight. He's the son of a legend. I'm now Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
He's Mexican. It's the best you could do. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. You can't really do better than that if you're not trying to feed man to the wolves. But you're trying to make it appear so.
But do you reckon it's going to generate numbers?
Good question.
It depends how they market it.
It depends what Chavez comes on.
Yeah.
Because Jake won't be able to push this himself. It depends what Chavez comes on. If Chavez comes on some listen, bro,
I'm going to teach you boxing.
I'm going to teach you boxing. Yeah, then it can sell.
That type of energy.
But if he comes on the vibe we know he's on, which is why even his dad don't really mess with him.
Despite recent criticism over his form, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. still commands respect for his accomplishments. As a former WBC middleweight champion, he has faced legitimate contenders and endured intense, high-pressure fights. His technical skill, endurance, and ring intelligence were once among the sport's best. Although he's no longer at his peak, those qualities don't vanish overnight. If Julio can even show flashes of his former self, he could pose a serious challenge. For Jake Paul, his experience in real fights gives him an advantage that no amount of YouTube training can replicate.
So Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who wins? Now this fight should really come down to two things. The youth of Jake versus the experience and technicality of Chavez Jr. Now Jake, he'll probably be the faster guy, carries more power at cruiserweight. I don't think he's got good footwork by any means, but Chavez Jr. does look more plotty at cruiserweight, considering he is a middleweight/super middleweight moving up in weight later in his career. Now Chavez Jr., I do think he does a lot of things better than Jake. Defensively, his hand positioning is better, his lead left hook is better, his combinations and body shots are a lot more technical, but ultimately it comes down to can he execute the way he used to. Because if you look at his last fight against Uriah Hall, he didn't throw as much volume as he used to. Like I said, looked a lot heavier on the feet. And this was a 6-round fight, so who knows how his cardio will hold up in a 10-rounder against Jake. But since Chavez Jr. is quite durable, he went 12 with Canelo, went 12 with Sergio Martinez, I do think Jake wins this one by decision, just being the more active guy on the front foot. But for Chavez Jr. having any chance to win, he's got to throw 2 to 3 times more punches than he did.
Regardless of the controversy and mixed opinions, this fight is shaping up to be a major event. Jake Paul's polarizing personality ensures it will attract massive attention, and the fact that he's finally facing a seasoned boxer only heightens the anticipation. Some fans are eager to see Jake lose, while others want to witness his rise, but everyone will be watching. It's that emotional connection, whether love or hate, that drives ticket sales and viewership. Despite any doubts about the fight's legitimacy, its marketability is undeniable.
News: Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. Now, what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to, on paper, look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, gets schooled here. Chavez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he had such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What I will say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, conditioned, and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team have been very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. Ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, if Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer, matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take...
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.